COVID-19 just blew my self-care routine out the water, being home all day with my children.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mincy Abdul-Rahman, and I'll be your host this segment. It's May, and in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, NAILAH'S Shea would like to invite you all to pause and take a deep breath as we reflect on the changes that COVID-19 has had in our lives. NAILAH'S Shea is a holistic beauty and body care line that promotes holistic healing through the use of its organic ingredients. Throughout this segment, NAILAH'S Shea will interview a series of women who are balancing home life, their careers, taking care of their children, and self-care. Joining me today is an associate professor in the Department of English at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. She is a researcher, an author, a Black maternal health activist, and a mom of two. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kimberly Harper.
Thank you, Mitzi. I'm glad to be here. I'm so happy to, join you.
Thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule to join us today.
No problem. Like I said, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Dr. Harper, before we get started, you know what I'm going to say. I'm an Aggie. I'm a proud Aggie. And the CEO and founder of NAILAH'S Shea is also a proud Aggie. So, what do Aggies do when we greet one another?
Aggie pride.
Can I get a?
Aggie pride.
Aggie pride. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem.
So I have a few questions for you today.
Okay.
How has COVID-19 affected your self-care routine?
Oh man, COVID-19 just blew my self-care routine out the water. Being home all day with my children and then having to work was a serious challenge. And so just doing the things that I used to do for myself, like reading for a couple hours alone, going out and getting a cup of coffee, things of that nature, I just wasn't able to do because of COVID. I'm in the house, they're in the house, we can't go anywhere, we can't visit friends. And, I just wasn't able to do anything for myself because I was in the house with the kids.
Okay. So do you think that it has caused you to neglect your self-care or find other ways to embrace it?
I think both.
Okay.
I neglected my self-care because I became more focused on trying to make sure my children were okay, because I knew being forced home and then away from school was difficult. And I just let myself go, in terms of what did I need, in order to function. My focus became what do they need, and on top of the thousands of emails and logins that we needed to remember because now that they were online for school at home. And I'm sorry, I forgot the second part of the question.
Yeah, no. So has it caused you to be a little bit more creative because you are home more with the children?
Yeah, once I got into a rhythm, I found myself, carving out time just in a different way. So as funny as it sounds, I would go sit in the garage in my car just to have a moment of quiet to myself. And it's felt odd, but then it was like, it's okay. I started quilting, so I watched YouTube videos and taught myself how to sew and started quilting, and that's been a huge joy. And then, just making sure that I took time, in the things that were part of your regular days, like taking your shower, maybe the shower was a little bit longer, things of that nature.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And how are you balancing self-care during the pandemic? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but can you go a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, a big thing that I started doing was saying no to people. As difficult as it was and still is, I just said, if we're going to be in this house and I've got to show up for my children and myself, I'm going to have to say no to people, and that was real difficult. So when I started doing that, I felt more empowered, I had more time, and at first I was fearful that people would be upset with me, and I had to get over that because everyone is struggling and dealing with something. But that's the biggest thing, saying no, honoring it, and then letting people know, like, hey, I'm struggling. That's the other thing. not that you owe anyone an explanation, but when you're close to people, just saying, I am struggling, I can't, and here's why, also made a difference, which actually opened up the door for more conversation. So then it wasn't like, oh, I'm by myself. Right. She's struggling too. Right. And that was very, very helpful. So saying, honoring that no, and just, look, I can't do it. I don't want to do it, and I can't do it. Because sometimes you don't want to do it, and you can. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like what you said about being boisterous and saying that I'm struggling. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives others permission to do the same. That we don't always, especially as women, having to be these warrior women all the time. So, yeah, it's very insightful. What are some cues that your body gives you that says, hey, Kim, you're doing too much. It's time to take a break. It's time to slow down.
Mm-hmm. For me, headaches.
Okay.
I know when I don't get them often. And when I do, I know it's associated typically with eye strain because I'm on the computer reading something, or even reading a book. So the eye strain, which usually leads to a headache, and then the need for sleep. Mm-hmm. Like I get to a point where I just shut down and I have to get like 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep. And so my body lets me know that, like, you need to go to bed. And if you don't, I'm just going to make you go to sleep. You're just going to fall asleep right here on this sofa. So those are the big two things for me. My body pushes me for sleep, and when those headaches show up.
Awesome. And so how do you incorporate NAILAH'S Shea into your mental health regimen? Is that your favorite question?
Yeah, it is my favorite question. I mentioned the showers, right?
Yes, you did.
I love the soap.
Yes.
Love the soap. The lemongrass, I love the fragrance.
That's my favorite. Can we pause and take a break for a minute and just talk about the lemongrass?
Yeah,
that's my favorite scent, hands down.
It is my favorite. And, so for me, taking a long hot shower is very cleansing. I mean, clearly you're cleaning your body, but spiritually it's cleansing. Yes. Yeah, and then the fragrance, just the bathroom smelling good, I'm smelling good. Then the fragrance is wafting out into the bedroom. So I use the soaps a lot, and then obviously the shea butter. Huge part of my regimen. And then for those ladies who love to take care of their feet, that shea butter works magic. So that's mainly what I use it on for my feet. And then for my showers, I love to have those fragrant showers, and I have to beat other people in the house off to leave my soap alone.
Yes, I have to do the same thing. I have to hide my soap from my 16-year-old. So I know you're fighting with your husband over the soap.
Yes.
Oh. So, Dr. Harper, can you share some tips with our audience on ways that they too can balance self-care during, quarantine? We're all at home.
Yeah, I think obviously, like I said earlier, honoring your no, and we've heard that a lot in society. Then also, and this is big for me because it took me a minute to realize. As a mother, you're bombarded with all types of messaging about your children and their growth and their development, and are they on track, and if they're not, you should buy this product or look at this webinar. And I just realized that my kids are going to be okay, and I had to unplug from that conversation. So for those mothers out there, I think it's okay if your child does not hit whatever growth spurt or a developmental mark that the chart at the pediatrician says, because they're going to be okay. And once I stopped stressing myself out about that and just let it go, I was in a better headspace. Like, okay, if my son is struggling sounding out words and he's in transitioning from kindergarten to first grade over the course of COVID, he's still going to learn how to read, because I know as a mom, I'm going to show up to help him do that. And it's okay in this one moment. And so that's my biggest takeaway. Release yourself from societal expectations of what your child should be doing by what age. And, obviously within reason, but COVID accelerated that fear and that worry. And once I did that, I was like, okay, I was in a better space. So that's my biggest takeaway.
That's awesome. That's inspiring to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you all. I hope you join me on the next segment. Thank you. Peace. She's a researcher, a Black maternal health activist, and mom of two. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Kimberly Harper. Okay.